So a while ago, let's go to the article here. A while ago, I talked about, is it time for us to kind of be quiet about who we vote for? And my reason for bringing up that question, a question that I myself am still undecided on, isn't because I'm ashamed or that I don't want people to know or that, but it's because I feel that as of recent, the conversation has been so diluted, and so many people, if you didn't bend the knee to vote for Queen Hillary, they just discount you right away. Tom Hartman, apparently, if you say, hey, I was a Jill Stein supporter, he will just hang up on you. Tom Hartman being the big progressive that he is. My question was, should we just be quiet about who we vote for and keep it straight to issues? And I think about it from the micro level, and I think about it at the macro level. I feel like if I really stuck to issues-based conversations, where I really just told people, hey, look, this is what I want to see in the country, this is what the country needs, and there is nobody on the ballot that fits that platform, or there is somebody on the ballot, and it is this person, and this person, or whatever the case may be, I feel like maybe that would be a lot more fruitful than saying, I'm voting for this person, even though you would want me to go for the lesser of two evils and do X. So yeah, it's an interesting question, and somebody tweeted this, which I think is kind of related. So this is from Ralph Nader. Ralph Nader was the person that I brought up as an example. Ralph Nader never tells people who he votes for. That's kind of a principle of his. He's like, look, I talk about the issues, I lay it out for people, but I never tell them what I'm doing in the ballot booth. That's something Ralph Nader does. So, for some of the people that were like, well, if you're not totally open about who you vote for, you can't really be a voice, I guess you don't consider Ralph Nader a voice in that case, because Ralph Nader does that. So, and there's actually a lot of people that do that, and I guess you don't consider any of them voices, which that's your choice. Ralph Nader, the Democrats are unable to defend the U.S. from the most vicious Republican Party in history. The Democratic Party, now this is from a while ago. This is more a principle thing, because this is from 2017. The Democratic Party at its lowest ebb in the memory of everyone now alive. It's lost the White House and both houses of Congress. On the state level, it's weaker at any time since 1920. And so far in 2017, and we can just put 2018 in there because it's the same thing, Democrats have gone 0 for 4 in special elections. Well, actually, technically they're not. Actually, that is a little different, but the numbers are still bad. How did it come to this? One person the Democratic Party is not going to ask, but perhaps should, is legendary consumer advocate and 3-time presidential candidate Ralph Nader. Ralph Nader, who's now 83 and has been based in Washington, D.C. for over 50 years, has had a front row seat to the Democrats' slow collapse. Democrats excoriated Nader, who received over 97,000 votes in Florida, for handing the election to Bush. Since it's impossible to rerun history, there's no way to know whether Gore would have won without a Nader candidacy. He certainly might have, but it's also possible that since the Nader threat noticeably pushed Gore to take more popular progressive positions, Gore would have performed even worse in a Nader-less election. In any case, it's now undeniable that the Democratic Party has significant problems. Okay, so Ralph Nader says, you want me to go through the history of the decline and decadence of the Democratic Party? I'm going to give you milestones. All right, so here we go. First big one, these are Ralph Nader's words. First big one was in 1979. Tony Callowell, who was a congressman from California and who ran the House Democratic campaign treasure chest, convinced the Democrats they should bid for corporate money and corporate PACs. So he said, hey, we got to go for the money. So this is around the time Reagan came around. And they did, and I could see the difference almost immediately. First off, they lost the election to Reagan. Then they started getting weaker in the Congress because they bowed to the donors. And they didn't know how to deal with Reagan. And the Republicans took note. That means a soft tone, smiling. You can say terrible things and do terrible things as long as you have that type of presentation. Well, and gee, look at how that worked out. Look at how that worked out from Reagan till now. People are making it out like Trump is some crazy anomaly. Meanwhile, his policies are just brutal Republican policies as usual. Paul Ryan would be doing the same thing. John Kasich would be doing the same thing. Jeb Bush would be doing the same thing. George W. Bush, war criminal. And people, quote, yearn for the days of George W. Bush, a war criminal. Because they have Trump derangement syndrome. Why? Because Trump doesn't have the subtlety they're used to in a right-wing politician. And when I say right-wing politician, I could be referring to a Democrat too, by the way. So they took economic issues off the table that used to win again and again in the 30s and 40s. Which is absolutely true. I got to meet a lovely couple from West Virginia over the weekend that drove out to Richmond for the show. And they told me in our area, we're a lot more progressive than you might realize. We're a lot more populist than you might realize. And people in our area, they don't vote because they don't think it frickin' matters. It's not that they know that Trump's going to win and they want to see a Republican. It's that they don't think it matters because they've been abandoned economically for 40 years. 40 frickin' years. Raising money from Wall Street and from the drug companies. The Democrats began... Here, I think this is important. The Democrats began the process of message preceding policy. No policy precedes message. Sorry, misread that. I thought he was saying they have no policy, which is freaking true. But that means they kept saying how bad the Republicans are. Gee, are they still doing this? I don't know. Have you seen the other guys? They campaigned by saying, can you believe how bad the Republicans are? And what did this all lead to, everybody? We all know what this led to. This led to the inevitable shuffle to the right. The Republicans kept getting more brutal because there was no policy to oppose them. So the Democrats would kind of just go right too because they had donor money as well. But they would say, hey, we're not as shitty as these guys. Does that sound rigged to you? It should. Because it is. Thank you for sharing that. Even though that's not super topical right now, that's an important lesson and one we shouldn't forget. Hey guys, thanks for watching. That was a clip from Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means I log on to a stream and people tweet me articles over on Twitter at Ron Placone, or they use our Reddit subsection, which is just Get Your News On with Ron over on Reddit. And that's how we build the show. I'm seeing all these articles for the first time. We are literally getting our news on together. Follow me on Twitter at Ron Placone so you can participate. And this show streams live every Tuesday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So please do tune in. If you want to support this show, you can do so over on patreon.com/Ron Placone, where for as low as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive podcasts every week, exclusive videos, free tickets to shows when I'm performing in your town, and more for as low as $1 a month. Please do consider it. Thank you so much for your support. This has been Get Your News On with Ron.